I would say that stress isn't controlling. I would say that it's a habit for us to be stressed. I would say that we create stress, because we do. And you can do everything that you need to do without stress. Everything. My perspective is that stress doesn't add anything to our life. So let's tackle this motivation one. Stress is one way to motivate yourself. But there's another way. We have inspiration. We can be motivated by what we do want and move towards what we do want. So inspiration, if anxiety is an away from motivation, then inspiration is a towards motivation. Inspiration is what pulls us, like a magnet would pull you if it was turned around the other way, towards what you do want. Inspiration is creating. This is reacting. Inspiration is creating. Good leaders and good speakers are inspiring. Martin Luther King said, "I have a dream," and he told everyone about it, and he inspired a movement. This is about dreaming. This is about creating. Some people don't even know what this is. This is one of the ways to motivate yourself. You're being motivated, you're being driven by what you do want towards what you do want, because you're not putting any time or energy or attention into what you don't want. But if you don't use this, then you're going to only rely on this to motivate yourself, which is what most people do most of the time. There's actually 3 mechanisms of motivation. I used to think there was only 2. And in fact, last time I delivered this, I said there was only 2 ways to motivate yourself. There's actually 3. And this is going to sound really fluffy to some of you. There's another way to motivate yourself as well. Love. This comes from who you really are. It comes from the inner core of who you are. It comes from those qualities. You don't have to call it love. You could call it compassion. You could call it joy. There's 3 ways to motivate yourself. If you were to do an inventory of everything you do in your life, you would find that it would come under one of these forces. You're doing some things because you don't want something to happen. You're doing some things because you do want something. Like, I'm saving up money to buy a hot tub, so I'm working towards that. I'm not trying to get away from something. That's something I want, so I'm working towards that. But sometimes I want to just play with my kids. And that's not because I want to get away from anything. It's not because I want to get towards anything necessarily. It's because I just want to be. This is being. And by the way, this isn't something I made up. This is grounded in science. There are 3 ways to motivate yourself. If you're interested in this, you can look at the work of Paul Gilbert. He's a professor in psychology. And he simplifies this. There's actually 5 ways to motivate yourself. But for simplistic reasons, there's 3 ways to motivate yourself. Fear, inspiration, or love. And you might want to call it being connected, being compassionate, being a decent human being. So, do you need motivation? Do you need anxiety to motivate yourself? No. Do you need anxiety to keep yourself safe? No, because taking away your amygdala, cutting out the part of the brain that causes you to release cortisol, doesn't take away your intelligence. All right? There's this thing called the prefrontal cortex. That's what drives most of our actions when we're regulated. If I cut out the part of your brain that's responsible for stress, you're not going to run in front of a moving car. It's not going to turn you into an idiot. It doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you small. It stops you from doing the things you know you want to do. The things that you know that you should do. Yeah, anxiety is an excuse. If you didn't experience anxiety, you might have to take that risk and invest in yourself, invest in your business, ask that person out. Commit. This is what drives most people's lack of commitment. You're scared. It might not work out. So yeah, anxiety will give you an excuse for not doing something. Most of us are waiting for the confidence to do what we say we want to do, but confidence comes after, not before. You don't get confident by sitting around waiting for confidence to come to you. You get confident by doing it. And then after you've done it, that's when the confidence comes. And yes, when you're going towards your dream, when you're going towards what you don't want, this will come up because you are a human being and there is a part of your brain that's trying to keep you safe. But it doesn't work. It keeps you small, not safe. A ship is safe in the harbour, but that's not what ships are made for. That's not my quote. It gives you a sense of identity. We will sometimes describe ourselves as someone that is anxious. I remember going to a party once and someone came up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Joe, I've got social anxiety." What a funny way to introduce yourself. But can you see how that was who he was being? It was almost like saying, don't expect too much of me. Because, well, it was. And it turns out his therapist told him to say that. But then look at how we're creating ourselves. And it's familiar. And yeah, it does form the basis of some of our decisions making. And I'm just going to invite you guys to experiment making decisions from a place of anxiety and making decisions from a place of inspiration and what you do want, and from a place of love and being. And you'll find that you operate in one of these three places all the time. Think about this as the place that you're coming from. Yeah? You can come from this place and try and run your life from this place, which is what most people do. When I ended up coaching this taxi driver that I told you about yesterday, he was saying, I have to work 2 jobs, and I have to do this, and I have to do that. And he was explaining why that meant that he had to be stressed. And what he saw at the end of the 20-minute conversation was that he can do those things and not be stressed. This is actually optional. When you get your mind around it, you don't have to be stressed. It doesn't take away your ability to work 2 jobs and to do what you need to do. It is entirely optional. And I would encourage you to play with that.